Well, hello and welcome back. My name's Kieron Seamons, and this is where all my inky world happens. So today's question was all about if I use my dip pen all the time and I don't use it and I use a different pen, what does my drawing look like? Well, I think mostly when you use a different pen, you have a different character, you have a different way of the textures, you have a different way of approaching the drawing. So I am going to try and do something in the same style of just kind of making it up as I go along. And I'm going to use a different pen. I'm not quite sure yet. Maybe a biro, a simple biro. What about that? A simple biro, because also everybody at home has got a biro. Maybe if I use a brush pen or something, you wouldn't have one. But everybody's got an old biro sitting around somewhere. So let's do a drawing with one of those. Let's go this way. Okay, welcome back. So we're going to try and get into drawing something just with a simple biro, okay? Nothing more, nothing special, and just a blank piece of paper, and we're just going to approach it. Obviously, with drawing with a biro, things will be different with ink. So in that way, you will approach your drawing in a different way. So that's good. The same way I would if I picked up a pencil or charcoal or something. My whole kind of way of approaching a drawing changes, I think. I don't know. But I'm just going to start off. I'm going to start off with an eye, and I'm just going to try and work it and feel it and see what comes out of it. And again, with this type of approach, it's not about to think too much about it, not to get too wound up by it, just to enjoy it. Enjoy the new approach. The new approach is this kind of biro ink pen. And I do find it's kind of in an essence, it's kind of like the same feeling almost as a pencil. It has that kind of sketchy edge to it, and I do very much like that because it gives you this approach that you can kind of sketch very lightly with, and it gives you that step ahead that the ink pen doesn't do. That you can kind of think of shapes in advance. Okay, so I'm going to try to do some kind of bird, I feel. And again, you can see that I'm kind of sketching quite hard, but at the same time I'm almost feeling this natural feeling from the pen to do some light sketching, some shading, and it gives me that kind of pencil feeling. And in an odd kind of way, it also gives me that feeling that that I don't get when I'm doing ink, that I've got this kind of long stringy feel to it, and that again kind of makes me feel quite free, whereas the ink I kind of feel will kind of blotch a lot. So this is kind of giving me a very pretty kind of hair feel, which I'm trying to bring that kind of feeling of what's natural about this pen and trying to use that in the drawing. And the same way that I would approach it with charcoal or whatever, that I would approach it from what characteristics does it have? Does it have a characteristic of messiness? Does it have a clarity look to it? Is it very clean? Is it kind of smudgy? Is it what? And again, it kind of makes me feel like these like long kind of scraggly lines are exactly almost kind of what it needs. And already it's kind of given me, sometimes I feel like here, like the line gets very, very line, and I feel like I need to go over it and kind of darken it in. And again, that's not really me thinking about it. It's the pen saying, the line's too thin here, thicken it up, sketch it loose. Look how fast my ink is coming out, you know. And it kind of gives you that feeling that's the way you should draw with a biro. You should scribble with it. You should sketch with it. You should be very shading with it. You should be, you know. And again, that approach is very different. And again, it's what makes it exciting, what makes it new, what makes it fresh. This kind of feeling that I've got a very thin drawing, and I'm still going to add some of my favorite type of teeth, even though I kind of feel like it's almost like a king penguin almost, the way that already the drawing is pushing me in that direction. Can you see that? Yes, you can. And that, sometimes these lines are very thin. That's why I'm kind of keep looking up to see, does it actually come through on the camera? Does it? You know, I kind of feel like he's almost got like a no hair head, you know? But he's got these whiskers that's coming out from him, and again that kind of makes everything very, very kind of pretty almost. So I'm bringing it down to being, and again I've really kind of enjoyed this wispiness, this kind of sketching. And if you hear any noise in the background, it's my dinner cooking. Okay, so so if you hear a big ding in a minute, that's me gonna, my stomach's gonna start getting excited and start saying, okay, it's dinner time, let's go and eat something. So again, this feeling here of hair and like some kind of hairy beast almost. I wonder again if I was to put some of the kind of wash on top of it might also be very, very nice. Again, it's kind of giving me this long thin lines almost of like wrinkles of you know, like a very kind of wrinkly kind of character. Again, just because of what the pen is telling me. And if I was to do the same drawing in ink, I wouldn't have done it like this. I wouldn't have had that approach. I wouldn't have had that kind of shading feeling. Let's kind of give him a couple of little kind of nostrils in there too, to kind of give him that. The only thing I find is that sometimes I find like the line is too thin, but that might just be a kind of what I'm used to with doing the dip pen and putting down those heavy lines. And I feel like I'm almost kind of feeling like I could do almost like a kind of and again, it's giving me that feeling of moving quickly with the pen. It's giving me that feeling of a quick and vibrant sketch. And again, it's making me want to shade things in because of the new quality of the pen. That new kind of characteristic of light, almost grey lines to it. And again, I'm wondering if I was to put in some kind of darker feelings to this kind of penguin type wing that it's it's a firm element to it and not a hair, not a feather. And again, it kind of gives me that feeling of sketching it in, scribbling it in, darkening it in. And that shading is quite a characteristic right across the whole drawing now because of what I'm feeling from a pen. And again, a biro is probably a very, very nice element to run in with on your sketchbook, you know. And I can see how my my looseness, my kind of sketchiness to this is giving me this natural way to draw. And again, this kind of feeling of adding kind of wrinkles to it. And already it's kind of building this kind of sketching line. I love this loose line that it's letting me have, which again, something I don't have with the dip pen. So again, I'm just trying to kind of darken in with this. And again, I see it's automatically saying sketching, sketching, shade it, shade it, shade it. And that's something that usually, as you've seen from my drawings, I don't usually do too much. But now with this type of pen, it's asking me to put in some dark lines and do some shading. And again, here comes that shading, that nice light, almost like a light grey that the pen is giving me, which is really quite attractive. And because of that lightness, it's giving me this very, 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 very nice feeling of shading it. And it would probably make it one of a classic, beautiful pen to do your notebook, your sketchbook, which you have, right? You have a sketchbook. If you haven't got a sketchbook, make sure you have a sketchbook, because sketchbooks capture all those ideas that's floating away, you know, floating under your hat. All those ideas you've got to capture. And the only way to capture them, if you don't wear a hat, is putting it on a sketchbook. Now I'm almost feeling that I'm wanting a grey there, and I'm very tempted now to see if I've got a brush that will. Again, I'm trying to keep that same loose type of feeling there that's being given to me by the Biro pen. And again, I'm using a very broken up brush, and I do feel that kind of adds to the texture of it. So, you know, a lot of people probably throw those type of brushes out. I keep them. I love them, and I feel they add a lot to what I'm drawing in there. So I do keep them, and I do love them. I'm just trying to kind of dab in some of the textures that it's asking me to do. It's almost like saying, please do this, please do this, please do this. And there we have it. Bringing in some of that texture again. Again, just using your finger there to kind of soften out some of those feelings. And again, it's giving me a nice kind of feeling. There goes a ding. So that's my food ready. But what I would like to do is I'd like to, because of that wrinkling effect this gives me, that kind of, I would love to be able to put in some nice big chunky feet. Okay, Mr. Miro's heard the little ding. He gets very excited when he hears a ding or something like that because he thinks, oh, it's food time. So if you hear Mr. Miro going, oh, 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 that means he knows that there's some food ready, but food can wait. And again, I'm liking the black that it's letting me have. So again, I love to use the qualities of getting in some of those wrinkles there. Maybe even bringing in some of that hair again that we had up at the top there. And again, this is just being a nice fresh way to approach a drawing. Now, look at that drawing for 2 seconds while I turn the machine on. Oh, look at that drawing, look at that drawing, look at that drawing, look at that drawing. There you go. Sorry, Mr. Miro, you'll have to wait 2 minutes. And again, we're really looking at the qualities of the pen. If it was a brush pen, you would get that nice thick and thin. So you'd approach your drawing from a thick and thin element. If it was a charcoal, you have that smudging and you would approach it from that point of view. The same way with like crayons, if you got those kind of pastels. Those pastels, again, have got that muddy kind of texture to them. Really beautiful when you put down pastels and stuff like that. So, to answer that question about how does my drawings look when I'm not using ink, well, 100% comes back to what am I using? Am I using pencils? Am I using charcoal? That will determine what is the look of the drawing. So when you do approach a new book, which I did with Norman when I did the Worry Lips book, I was getting into doing lots of sketches, and for some reason I kept painting in lots of grey, and that grey became the look of the book. As you will see in the illustrations for Worry Lips, there's a very grey, almost night feeling to this book. And without it, if I had have drawn it in Biro, if I had have drawn it in pencil, if I had have drawn it in watercolors, it would have had a very, very, very different feeling, very different approach. So, yeah, I think whatever pen, whatever materials you are using will change. Let's give him a little kind of tail. So the beauty of your pen will determine a lot of the characters of what you draw. If you draw with a dip pen the same way that you draw with a biro, you're going to have problems. So try and find out rather quickly about what characteristics does the materials that you're going to use. Whatever pen you're using, whatever pencil you're using, what are the qualities of it? What are the negatives of it? Negatives is another thing. Let's get in there with another brush. And again, that's why sometimes with my brushes I have, as you can see, I've got like 20 brushes in there. Certain brushes, this is a very thick blobby type texture there that's also coming in to help kind of with the skin. I love that. And that's helping me to determine what this character is looking like. And just by doing a very quick, as you can see, I'm really being very, very, very quick with it. I'm basically just sketching down the meaning and the idea behind this character. The whole idea of him. What is he going to be like? What is the... And that's something I'd love to be able to put some grey down there. I'm going to use a really big brush there just to soften that down. Again, maybe even with the top. Look how big that brush is. Look, it's massive. And again, it does really build a lot of the character into it. So that's kind of like a... Now as it starts to dry, as you can see, I've done a lot of let's put in a little... There you go. Even wrote my name different. You know, it's like everything is different about it. So there's a lovely little quick sketch for you. Again, it's not an amazing drawing. It is a sketch. It is a pre-thought. It is a non-planned character. Some kind of penguin. Some kind of penguin styled creature. And from that loose idea, I could probably go away now and put down a very beautiful idea. Now I've developed this character. I've kind of brought him to life almost. See, even that has helped, hasn't it? Kind of getting in there with some of the darker tones. Now if I was to do this in watercolour on top of the Biro, it might have a very different effect. It might be able to give me some beautiful oranges into the beak, maybe some purples and greens on the bird itself. So that is our sketch for today. Lovely. Very, very, very nice feeling about that. So me and Mr. Miro are going to go and have dinner now. So that is a sketch. Don't think too much of it. It's a sketch. It's fun. It's relaxing your mind and letting things flow, which is what you're trying to do more and more of. Just, you know, put things down, put some thoughts down, get a pen, get a ink pen, pastels, whatever, and start to develop from the characteristics of what you're using. So that is the Biro sketch. It's nice. It's a nice idea. It kind of has got this sketchiness with the pen being very quick, very thin-like, very hair-like. And it will help you develop whatever you're doing. So if you're working on a book, if you're working on an illustration, and you're using pencil and it's not working, try charcoal. If charcoal's not working, try a Biro. If a Biro's not working, try a dip pen. Try anything. Try something different. If the illustration is not working, it's not feeling right, change it. Pencil's not working, try some watercolors, some nice softness to it. And then you can start to build on top of the watercolors. Maybe you could put some charcoal on top of a watercolor once it's dried into it. So, that is today's fun, okay? A nice fun sketch, a nice different approach. a nice sketchy quick illustration there. And yeah, it looks nice. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you for watching. Me and Mr. Miro are going to go and have some dinner. Since you heard my ding. Oh, look at his little face going, where's my food? Right, so I will see you again tomorrow. Thank you very much for being here. Please subscribe if you haven't. It's always a pleasure to have you on board. And we'll do some more drawing tomorrow. Bye-bye. See you soon.